Good day everyone. So one of the problems I have is that Genshin's current metagame is just not fun, and the types of conversations people are having are really a testament to this. People are desperately arguing over Caesar Arlecchino versus Hu Tao and AoE and single talk and all this good nonsense, and yet here I am on the sidelines playing a team in front of your very eyes that not a lot of people have played and even fewer people have theory crafted because the conversation points would be very, very obvious. Replace Daya with Xiangling and Kuchisara with Bennett, and hey, now you've got a speed-running, Chinese player-approved, whatever, team that can beat the Abyss, but hey, it's still not as fast as the Arlecchino variant, so why don't you just play that instead and make a proper YouTube video that people actually want to watch? You see, that is the problem. The conversations that we currently have are based on a flawed format, and that format is you've got a limited amount of time, you need to do a big amount of damage as fast as possible, and hey, we just then slap the label meta on it, and that is the basis for which we use to sell characters. Like in the background here, there was one hit I didn't really crit on, so I might as well just reset 10,000 times until the video looks good for YouTube. This cannot really continue to go on. We need to change the conversation points, and to do that we need to change the format. So something that's currently happening in Genshin Impact is that there is the Vibro Crystal event. This is similar to other combat events, but look at how the entire conversation can change, because we've got a score and we need to get a high enough score within a limited amount of time with an unlimited amount of enemies. So suddenly the conversation has now changed from doing a massive amount of damage in 15 seconds to impress people on Bilibili to one where we actually have to focus on the long game. If you mess up a rotation, then your entire team's cooldowns could become desynced. In other words, different abilities and effects are going to not line up properly anymore, and that's going to lead to an overall DPS loss, which will then be reflected in your score. Conversely, there might even be some teams where you might want to deliberately desync all the cooldowns because given the unique ways the enemies or the stages are set up, that would lead you to a higher score. And that's the type of conversations you rarely hear about in the theory crafting circle in Genshin Impact or even in the casual conversation, because the format that we have is not suited to actually bringing out these different or alternative playstyles. The other thing a game mode like this really encourages is the ability for you to start thinking about all of the micro decisions in a bit more of an interesting way in real time. You have to respond to where the enemies are going to respawn next, like what abilities they have. So for instance, in the background here, you'll see me trying to, especially with the larger enemies, not just go for one of them and take care of them, but I try to lower its health a bit, and then I swap to the next target. So that is a way where I can spread out my DPS, and my off-field pets are going to take care of one enemy whilst I focus on another, as you can see there in the background. And that is exactly what could lead to some interesting strategies. If you now combine this with certain stage effects, which will reward or buff certain playstyles, giving the enemies certain and unique buffs, and add in, let's say, some terrain effects as well, let's say moving platforms or elevated ground, or let's say some water on the field, could be quite interesting, then suddenly the game becomes very, very rich. Now, I know some people might object and say, hey, that's going to completely alienate the casuals if you make these stages too complex, but I'd argue that that is exactly what they're already seeing in the overworld. You've got enemies at different elevations attacking you from different directions, and that is just going to be a natural extension of their overworld experience, just in a bit more of a formal environment where the focus now is the damage instead of just like clearing like 3 rings or finding a treasure chest or beating the enemies. You just have a bit more structure in terms of your endgame here. From my perspective, there are numerous advantages to the system. For one, you can encourage different team compositions without having the fear that, oh, your Daya should have been replaced by Xiangling, because there might be stage effects or field effects or playstyles that will favor Daya massively over Xiangling to such a degree that even if you are a hardcore speedrunner with perfect artifacts on Xiangling, she will never outperform Daya. That's the kind of content I want to see. I want to see the environments that allow different characters and different compositions to shine, and how you do that is by adding in field effects and constraints. But what's more, this can also lead to a situation where content creators can VOD review other people, and they can talk about the micro decisions that you as a player have made, and then that could be a very interesting thing for people to then start playtesting. People can then say, hey, this content creator gave this advice, but if we follow it through, it doesn't really make that much sense. Or you can look at it and say, yeah, this person really knows what they're talking about, and that gives you much more credence. Because you see, if I go into a Spiral Abyss and I put up an impressive showcase, people are going to be like, yeah, okay, he's got an account that is strong, so let's go to the next speedrun on Bilibili. You understand that the current format's just that horrible. But the other thing that will be very interesting as a consequence is that if we start selling new characters in lieu of different effects that you can have in a game mode like this, then the conversation will not just favor DPS or hyper carries as much as it currently does, but even support characters can have a chance to shine, and Hoya won't need to ever feel like they need to power creep newer characters, sorry, not power creep new characters, power creep older characters to sell newer characters, because you have a variety of content that can cater to different playstyles and will make a new character that they design with a new gimmick work really well. That is the way in which I can see the game going sustainably forward. But, I mean, without an in-game mode like this or mode similar to this will never become a reality. And that's ultimately why I'm dissatisfied with the current meta game. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.